So hey guys, welcome back to another Access 72 video, and in today's video I'm back with another interview. I'm here with Eilish Tierney. How are we?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing amazing, thank you. Thank you very much for agreeing to come on the channel, and for anybody who may not know, am I right in saying you're a professional boxer, just turning over to the professional ranks now?
Yes, I am the first from Ipswich.
Indeed, amazing. And so we'll start with the question which I always like to start off with. Why did you start boxing?
So initially, it's a bit of a crazy one. I was 15 stone
Mm-hmm.
before lockdown,
Wow.
and that's when I found the gym and got into it. So I actually learned everything that I know over Zoom
Mm-hmm.
via lockdown
Mm-hmm.
in the gym that I'm with. So it was just a weight loss journey, really. Started competing, doing a few white collar bouts, wanted to take it more seriously. So went down the amateur route and then decided to actually turn over.
It's a brilliant story, and I suppose for anybody who may be in that position where you once were, how important was it to you to find something that you enjoyed doing in boxing to motivate you to lose weight?
But to be fair, there wasn't really a lot to do during
Mm-hmm.
the time that I found boxing. I was still working, luckily, but other than that, everything was shut. So it's either work and come home and do nothing, or get the laptop out, do a
Mm-hmm.
bit of Zoom, and go for a run.
Mm-hmm. No, indeed. And so I suppose did that help your mentality during that time where it was a tough time for everybody?
Oh, massively. I think it was like the little wins, like losing a little bit of weight and just keeping myself distracted was actually a nice, like, comforting distraction from everything else that was going on the outside world.
Most definitely. And then, so just to speak about any sort of kind of amateur background you did have, what has that entailed?
It wasn't a massive amateur background. I've only had the three bouts,
Mm-hmm.
but I was 3-0.
Mm-hmm.
Fought some really, really good girls from Norwich and Cambridge.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a very short season for me because I knew exactly what my goal was, and it was just to get a few bouts and then move over.
Indeed. And so, I mean, now you're moving over, and so why exactly this time to move over?
I just feel like I'm at that stage now where I'm sparring world champions. I
Mm-hmm.
might as well actually try and compete
Mm-hmm.
against them.
Mm-hmm. No, indeed. And I mean, just touched upon it there. You've been sparring some great fighters. What's it been like sparring the likes of fighters like Ebony Bridges?
Absolutely amazing experience to do 30, 40 rounds
Mm-hmm.
with Ebony Bridges for her, I believe it was her IBF world title defense. I was a part of her camp for that. Absolutely incredible experience. Going from white collar, which is like, so no disrespect to the girls that I've fought or shared a ring with. When you step foot in the ring with a world champion, you feel you're sparring a
Mm,
world
yeah.
champion. There's levels. And to actually maintain, not that I ever got the better of her, but to be able to do 30, 40 rounds
Mm.
with someone like Ebony is absolutely incredible.
And do you feel like, I know that she does manage fighters and she works with a lot of fighters, and so do you feel like you've learnt a lot from not just sparring her but from speaking to her?
Oh, massively. She's just one of these people that after sparring, like, we'll work out together, we'll do some shadow boxing together, we'll analyze the few rounds and be like, this was great, like,
Mm.
do more of this, or you need to just work on that. And so it's always like a teacher student moment when I'm sparring Ebony.
That's amazing. We'll touch a bit more on your sparring in just a little bit, but going back to yourself, and so obviously you're making your pro debut now, but what would you say is your main motivation for boxing currently?
Oh, I think it's just to really just show everyone that it wasn't just a little hobby that I
Mm.
started in lockdown. Like, this is something that I've sacrificed a lot for in the little time that I've been exposed to boxing.
Mm.
Like, there's obviously loads of people out there started when they were kids, and I started when I was 21, 22. I'm
Mm.
26 in March. Like, that's nothing in boxing.
Mm.
But I just wanted to show everyone that this is possible. You can literally go from nothing to something in a very short amount of time.
It's amazing, and I suppose going into your debut being February 24th, how's everything been going? Everything been flowing nicely in camp?
Yeah, camp has been great. Obviously, with the amateur experience I had, I'm very used to just ticking over and
Mm-hmm.
just being busy. Same with my white collar background; it was every other month or so. So I'm constantly training anyway. The only thing we've really changed is, like, focusing more on my strength and my conditioning and really building on what was already there.
Mm-hmm. No, totally. And I mean, you've been fighting and you're going to be fighting on a TM14 card. And so what, obviously you haven't fought on their card yet, but what's it been like so far working with them?
Oh, they've been amazing, especially with the setback. So I was originally supposed to make my debut in December.
Mm-hmm.
There was a hold up with my card. It's just boxing. It's one of those things that happen. And they were absolutely amazing. They could have just dropped me and not invited me back, but the first thing they did was offer me a space on the 24th. So I can't thank those guys down at TM14 enough.
And do you feel like, obviously we've got the kind of major free promoters in England, and there's kind of a space and a kind of gap in between that to them being that of the more arguable smaller hall shows, but do you feel like TM14 as a company, I don't know if you've been to any of their shows, do you feel like they're kind of up there and amongst it?
So I've been to a few of their shows. I think them and Top Tier at the moment are probably two of the best companies for the small hall shows. Then obviously you go on to your bigger companies, but I think those two really know how to put on a very professional, very entertaining show.
And of course, obviously you didn't have too much of an amateur background. Are you going to be wanting to, obviously you not take it too slow, but be nice with your fights and kind of pick fights to make things work for you in the professional game and get used to the professional game before you throw yourself into the deep end?
Ultimately, I'm down for a fight. This is what we trained for, but I'm not going to be silly with my career. I'm not going to become a journeywoman. I've got my goals, and that is to be world champion. Eventually, obviously, we are going to pick fights that suit me to begin with, because that's the smart thing to do. Hopefully 3 or 4 fights down the road, we're thinking about titles and throwing my name out there a little bit more.
Of course, and I suppose with the way that the divisions are at the moment with the women's game, a couple fights, maybe up to 10 fights, and then you are kind of knocking on the door for that of a world title. And is that the kind of aim in the next coming years, to be active and then in the next coming years have them opportunities come up?
Yeah, that's definitely the goal. We just want to see how far I can get, and so it's the start of the year. It's my first fight in February. We're looking at having 3, 4, maybe 5 more fights this year, just to get my name out there, keep busy, and then push for something like a world title shot this time next year, maybe a year after.
And I suppose, speaking about getting your name out there, do you understand that kind of importance of, as an upcoming fighter, getting your name out there and around the whole kind of sport?
Yeah, it's one of those things that your name can take you a million miles, and I'm very fortunate to have a very unusual name that not many people forget. So I'm hoping people remember the girl with a weird name who can box.
Of course, and I suppose, speaking a little bit more upon some of this amazing sparring you've been having, seems like you've been sparring a little bit with Elle Brooke, and people seem to kind of maybe slate Misfits boxing a little bit, but what's, from the inside point of view, what's it like sparring her, and do you see that kind of 100% commitment that you also see from professional boxers?
Elle trains as if she was a professional boxer. She's obviously trained by Mark Tibbs, who, he doesn't take, like, you're all or nothing with Mark Tibbs. If you're there to train, you train like a pro boxer. And she gives me a hell of a round. Like, obviously me and her, she started a little after I did, but we've been sparring for like a year and a bit now. And yeah, we have good spars. Like, it's not one of those things where I just turn up, have a move around and get a photo with Elle and leave. Like, they're very competitive rounds, and she takes her boxing very seriously.
No, it's amazing to hear. And I suppose, just going back to prior answers, of course you said that your ambition is to be that of a world champion, and every fighter that comes on here and has these kind of big goals, I always like to ask, what would be that of a dream venue for you to fight in?
I think ultimately sharing a stable with Fabio Wardley, it's got to be Portman Road. Just, even if that was just a fight, let alone a world title fight, but just to be on a Portman Road show with the big man himself would be absolutely incredible.
And I suppose, with the way that British boxing is going at the moment, there's so many new venues popping up every year, and is it just amazing to see the fans supporting fighters all across the country?
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. Like I'm making my debut in London, and
Mm,
obviously it's not the furthest from Suffolk, but people are still traveling.
mm,
It's not like my white collar days where it was on my doorstep.
mm.
So I think it's absolutely incredible to see not only the boxers willing to fight wherever, but the fans coming to support.
And I mean, like yourself and quite a few other fighters, starting in that of white collar, sometimes it doesn't get the best of reputations, but how much has that kind of helped you build to where you are today?
Yeah, white collar has one of those reputations that I'm not going to really shout about
Mm-hmm.
when I'm making my professional debut, but I'm not going to forget where I've
Mm,
come from. I had 8 white collar bouts, and some of them they were very competitive bouts. They're not as scrappy, they're not as dangerous as people make out, but
mm-hmm.
I do the stigmatism that attached collar
Mm-hmm.
and white collar boxers obviously progressing in the professional scene. I understand people that have started from kids and the discipline being in amateur boxing and there being a big difference. But ultimately, I think if you're going to step foot in the ring, you should deserve the respect
Mm.
for getting in the ring.
Completely, I have to agree, and I suppose that's all the questions, bar one which I've got left to ask, and it's one which I always like to ask for any fighter that comes on. You've got a little bit of a platform here today. Is there anything that you'd like to shout out?
Just want to say a massive thank you to everyone that supported me from day one. Um, it started off as a hobby, and
Mm-hmm.
now I'm turning professional. Thank you to all my sponsors, to GFP, to all my friends, to my family. Most importantly, my mum,
Mm-hmm.
who is going to sound very cliche, but thank you for giving me a very unique name, and thank you for supporting me.
Mm-hmm. Of course. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you here today, and I'm sure it's going to be a start of great things for you in your career. And I wish you the best of luck with your first fight, and maybe a little bit further along down the line we can come and have another chat.
Nice one. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much. And so, if you are new around here, and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you did indeed like the video, and thanks for watching.